Good morning, everybody. So today we're going to be talking about why you have to make a commitment to your new career before you have a perfect plan. And I know that's going to it's going to fly in the face of what a lot of you think. I get that, but let's just talk through it. So the first thing is, before we get into all the details, I just want to go over what I see and how people think and what inspired me to come up with this particular topic for today. So a lot of people will know quite compellingly that there's a problem, right? They know there's a problem. There's no question that there's a problem, but they don't want to go and do anything about that problem until everything is exactly the way that they want it to be, right? That's unfortunately the way that most people are operating with this. And that's not, unfortunately, something that actually works, because then what actually happens is people end up staying trapped in these situations for a really, really, really long time. And ultimately, the vast majority of people who take that view never actually fix it. So we're going to be diving in today, and we're going to be talking about, all the things that, all the different reasons why that's a no-go, right? And, you really need to go and you need to make this commitment before that. You need to start taking action before that. And in doing so, it is going to work out, right? And we're going to go through why there's no other way for it to possibly work out, right? So let's dive into that in a second. And here we go. So the first reason is that the perfect plan doesn't exist, right? Let's just call it like it is. A lot of people want to plan out every single little detail. And the reality is that you can't plan out every single detail. It's not possible. There's far too many variables, far too many complexities, that it's not possible for you to figure out everything in advance and have a perfect plan for every action and everything and all this kind of stuff. And people will try to do that. They'll try to say, hey, listen, I want to make sure that I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And at the high structural level, that can make sense. But the thing is, then they'll go down another level of detail and another level of detail and another level of detail. And really all that is analysis paralysis. And the key root of analysis paralysis is just fear. At the end of the day, that's all it is. And they're trying to use this, oh, well, I just need to do more research and I just need to have a more perfect plan. I need to know exactly what I'm going to do, blah, 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 as a means to avoid actually confronting the problem and taking the jump because they're scared to do so. Right? So it's a Sisyphean task. It's a boulder that you can never push up the hill. There are broad strategic outlines, but you can't create something that's perfect. You're human, you're imperfect. That's just the way it works, and there's no way around that, right? So the second reason is that the world is always changing. So even if you could create this perfect plan, as the world changes, your plan has to change, right? The plan has to be adjusted. You're going to have to keep going back and revising it. And then that's what happens is people are like, oh, well, I had this plan, and then I had this marketing plan, and then there's been these changes in Facebook and this and that and this and that. So now I need to go and replan again, right? It's a wonderful excuse to just keep on jumping back into that planning process and never actually taking the leap, right? And again, this comes back to this opiate of telling yourself that, oh, I'm doing something, even though you're not actually doing anything. You're just planning, getting ready to get ready to get ready to get ready, right? And you're still in that job that you hate. You're still struggling in your business. You're still in that position, right? So the third reason is that evidence comes from feedback. So let's say you are working in some corporate job you hate. You're in a cubicle. Life sucks. And then you're like, well, I really want to go be a health coach. You can't plan out how to be a health coach until you actually make contact with that market, because you don't have all the information you need. You can't build a plan without all the information. And the only way you can get that information is to go actually speak to prospective customers, to go actually speak to, go actually try out your marketing, right? See, hey, listen, is what I'm saying resonating? Are my numbers good? And you have to adjust, right? Even the best people in the world at this have to adjust. They have to go out, try something, adjust. I mean, I know a guy who makes like $2 million a month doing this stuff, and he still tests things because he doesn't know. You can't know until you actually make contact, right? And there is no such thing as a sure thing. There's just, hey, listen, what are the numbers and does it add up, right? You can never be like, hey, listen, I can absolutely guarantee I'm going to get X number of clients and this and that and this and that. You can't know that. You can know, hey, listen, is this resonating? Am I going to be able to make my bills? All that kind of stuff. You can know that stuff, but only once you've actually gone out and tested it and seen, hey, listen, does my hypothesis, does my evidence, does this match up, right? If you're not actually out there testing it, then you're all your armchair quarterback guesswork, and your plan really doesn't have any validity anyway. The fourth reason why this whole, planning for everything doesn't work is that the biggest opportunities aren't things that you can actually see. A lot of people, they want to plan out everything, but what happens is when you actually start living your purpose, when you're actually, clean out all the demons and you get going and you're actually doing it, the universe bends to meet you, and you can't predict all the ways that that's going to happen. So, like right now I'm working on some project that, is potentially going to pay me more in the month of September or the month of October, whenever that check comes in, than most people make in a year, right? But the way I became affiliated with this project was not anything I could have ever planned out. It was something that happened because I had chosen to go and create a purpose around this and live my purpose. And I was actively doing that. Somebody in some professional organization said, hey, Sean, there's a guy that I'd like you to meet. If I'd just been doing some other thing and this hadn't been my life, then he never would have said that. He never would have thought that. So then it was because of that I went and I met this guy. And the only reason I was able to say, hey, I can really help with this and really have an intelligent conversation about it was because of the experience that I had gained getting that feedback here, living my purpose, right? And because of that, this opportunity came out. And at the time, I thought it was just, a pro bono thing for a charity. And then it grew into this much greater thing and all this other stuff. And now it's potentially, very, 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 very big payoff for me. But it all happened because of things that I could have never predicted, right? And until you start living your purpose, those things aren't going to be available to you. This is back to the whole thing of people say, well, there are lucky breaks. Well, those lucky breaks don't become available until you start living your purpose, until you start doing that. Because if you're just some guy in a cubicle and that's your identity, you're never going to get that opportunity, right? Luck comes around X number of times for people who are living their purpose. It doesn't come around at all for people who are living in the rat race. It's just the way it works. Or maybe once in a blue moon or once in a lifetime, right? Instead of once a year or once every couple months or whatever. So you can't predict that. It's not possible. Now, perhaps the biggest reason, though, is you really don't need to suffer in the meantime. So while you're sitting there planning to get ready for 20 years or 30 years or whatever, 10 years, you're suffering. Right? You're doing a job that you hate. You're not making what you're worth. You're stressed out. You're wondering, hey, listen, am I going to be able to figure this out? You're not being able to spend time with your kids. You're giving up on your dream. You're not being the person you need to be, and you're suffering. And so while you're planning, you may be putting a little bit of a salve on it, but deep down it still hurts, right? And if you actually get going and you actually start living it, there's a lot less suffering, right? And that's the thing, is there's no reason to suffer for years and years and years while you're planning, because fear is this kind of thing where there's like this big jump, right? It's like pulling off a Band-Aid. Oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But if you don't do it, then there's going to be a much bigger problem. But if you just say, listen, and you do it in one go, then the fear's gone, the problem's gone, and you can actually deal with the situation, right? And then finally, you probably need help. Let's be honest. If you are where you are and you've been there for more than, call it 5 years, right? And I'm going to be referring to either you're in a situation where you've felt a certain way for 5 years, you've been stuck in a job you don't like for 5 years, or you've been stuck in a pattern of job hopping for 5 years, or you have a dream that you've been working on for, more than 5 years that really isn't where you want it to be, right? If it's any of those things, then you need help. You're not going to figure this out on your own, in all likelihood. Once in a blue moon, maybe, but 99.9999999% of the time, no. And if you're somebody who cares about planning, then those are the numbers, and you should care about the numbers. And so if you need help, then you need to commit to getting that help before you're going to have the plan, because you're not the person who can make the plan. The person who's helping you is the person who can make the plan. And if you need help, then you've got to make that commitment before you have the plan, just by the definition, because that plan is going to come from somebody else. right? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not, a judgmental thing. We all need help. I've gone and gotten help. In fact, almost everybody who's even remotely successful has gone and gotten help at some point, because, that's just the way the world works. Civilization is built on people passing knowledge down to the next generation, passing knowledge down to other people, right? And, if you're struggling with planning, then, if what you're doing isn't working, then go get some help. But that requires a commitment before the plan is going to get delivered, because nobody's going to say, oh, listen, here's the plan. Now let's, now I'm going to help you execute it. That doesn't happen, because, the plan ultimately, again, has to be based on feedback. If anybody's selling you that, then you need to run, because the plan at a very high level, right, can be laid out, but all of the details are going to require working with you. They're going to require understanding you really, really, really deep down, helping guide you to your purpose and what's going to make you truly happy, seeing how the marketplace responds to your execution, all that kind of stuff. This is not something that somebody can just write up and give you. And if they say they can, then they're not really doing a thorough job on it. So, if you're going to do this, you have to commit to getting help, and then that's where the plan's going to come from, right? So at the end of the day, guys, all of this, these are all logical reasons. It all makes sense. But at the end of the day, it's about fear, right? When all is said and done, wanting to plan everything out isn't about logic. You may pitch it to yourself that it's about logic, but it's not. It's about fear, right? And these are all the reasons I can, defeat all the logical reasons that comes up. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, are you willing to make that jump? Are you willing to take what appears to be a risk for a massive, massive reward? Or would you prefer to live in a life that, you're not meant for because you were too scared to do otherwise? At the end of the day, that's the choice you got to make. So if you guys are ready to make that commitment, if you guys want to, jump in and say, hey, ready to go, ready to do something, I need some help, let's get this sorted out, and fear be damned, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead kind of stuff, and you realize that everything here is true and there's no need to suffer and it's time to get going, well, then there's a link scrolling across the bottom of the screen. It's www.oculusinstitute.com/scheduling. You can book a call. You can talk with me directly. We're going to get it sorted out, right? We're going to get you, we're going to get that all done. We're going to go over very high level stuff. And then, if we want to go further, then yeah, we can actually make that happen. And I promise you that if you're committed, I promise you that if you're decisive, I promise you that if you're ready to do this come hell or high water, that, between you and between me, and between the universe, because the universe works with people like us in our favor. Between all of us, there is no way you're going to fail, and the plan will come together. So I look forward to speaking to you soon, and have a wonderful day.